The Area Truck Series playoffs continue on a trip to Nevada just outside the city of Las Vegas. With just 3 races remaining in the championship, there are 8 drivers still in play for the title. But next week, 4 more will be eliminated. So when it comes to this race, 120 laps in Las Vegas, it might come down to a strategy gamble rather than raw speed that may put a driver through to homestead. Welcome back to Sim TV. Kyle Heyer joined by Connor Horn tonight for our third to last race of the season. Connor, we've got just 2 remaining. An elimination race next week, and then, of course, that championship race at the end of the season. It is basically time to select our championship 4, and one driver tonight could lock their way in to the championship 4.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun one, especially with the way this track races with the Truck Series. We got so many drivers still involved in this, and all 8 of these drivers, any one of them can still win this title. Obviously, we know the favorites, and we know who's not the favorites, and we know who's the underdogs, but they are still all to be played for here as we'll get the points up right here. James Scioli, what else can you say about him? 38 points to the good coming in tonight, and he is looking to be in a good spot. He will not skip the first round of this round like he did last round in both the Pro Series and Truck Series, so he will be here tonight. But after Scioli, as you can see, there's nowhere to hide. Slaughter, Weishart, Tom Bourne above the cut line, but not even really counting as above the cut line, only 4 or 3 to the good. Beckner very below. Elwood and Hearn, surprisingly, they have great seasons, but they find themselves below the cut line. And Garrett Grant is in a tough position as well.
Yeah, this is where the cream rises to the top, and James Scioli with that 38-point cushion. He's pretty well in the clear, but there's 2 races, and even with a relatively shy field of just 25, he could very easily fall out if he doesn't get a win tonight or next week. Of course, he has some room to fall that others don't have. Slaughter, Weishart, Bourne, and basically everybody else is going to be in a brawl for those last 3 championship 4 spots. And Garrett Grant in particular, and probably Cameron Hearn as well, they got a little bit of work to do if they want to be in the conversation. It's going to be tough out there come next week when we finally select our championship 4. Here's a look at how practice is going so far, and you'll notice, Connor, that the drivers lit up on the ticker. The blue are drivers above the cut line, the yellow drivers below it. All 4 of the drivers above the cut line are outperforming those below it. So that's not a good sign for things to come for Elwood, Hearn, Beckner, and Grant.
Yeah, definitely need to pick up the pace. It's not like how we saw last night with the drivers barely on the cut line, like JT Poole last night, Ryan Hart, Seth Knoll, everyone. 4 drivers who are right on the cut line, all running in the top 5 basically. So we might see that tonight at some point, but if the standings of practice are any indicator, that might not be the case, as like you talked about, the 4 of the top 7 are above the cut line. Then Alan Elwood below the cut line is the highest of those guys in 10th as we go into practice for the final 2 minutes. We were talking about it before it started. There was such a huge pack. It might have been the entire field for all we know, but it just could not stay together. And that's the type of racing we might see all night long, especially as the night settles in here and the sun goes down. It might be very tight-knit racing.
Yeah, you mentioned the pack racing nature of this track, and we didn't really see that extensively through the entire field last night. We saw kind of breakaway moments, but tire wear was a topic of discussion a lot yesterday in the Cup Series race. I don't think that'll be as big of a deal tonight, especially, Connor, as you mentioned, transitioning into a night race. When the tire wear goes away, the longevity of the truck will stay with a driver over the course of a run, and it'll allow these trucks to stay packed up, let alone all the extra draft and downforce that these trucks have in comparison to the Cup car.
Yeah, the amount of downforce definitely changes the game as well, and it's not going to be a similar race to Chicagoland. It's another 1.5 miles, yes, but Chicagoland, a much more abrasive surface, a lot more age into that track, and even in the way these trucks race, that race got spread out. We had green flag running, and David Weishart pulled away with it, and we got the green flag pit stops. 120-lap race tonight, I believe. So with how this surface is not very old, you're going to be very packed up. The draft is going to play such a big factor. Also, it's going to play a factor which lane you choose on the restart, which lane you try to get to. It's all going to play a factor, and it might produce an absolutely wild short race here tonight.
It could produce a wild race, but historically, there haven't been all that many yellows, even when the average lead changes at this racetrack 18, but only an average of 3 yellows for 13 laps. Now, in the playoff race in general, an average of 2 cautions. So I don't predict a lot, but given that the pack racing nature of this could lead to some dramas, I think we have to leave that on the line as a potential situation for tonight. Some yellows that could take out some playoff competitors. Now, we saw that last night as well. A couple drivers, Travis Beckner one that got wrecked early, not of his own doing, just kind of got caught up in someone else's mess, and he was fighting from a long ways back all evening long. So that will be something to watch as well. With practice complete, though, race fans, be sure to subscribe to the Area iRacing Twitch channel. For only $5 a month, you can watch all area broadcasts commercial-free. You can also use new Area iRacing emotes in the chat and earn double channel points as a subscriber that you can use to redeem for free merchandise at twitch.tv/Area iRacing. So qualifying's underway now, Connor, and as far as how important this is in the grand scheme of things, I would say moderately. I think track position will be relatively easy to come by tonight. However, I don't like starting out back because of the potential for those big wrecks in the pack racing that you mentioned before.
Yeah, you definitely want to. It's not going to be as important here tonight, like you said, but what is going to be important is that bonus point for getting the pole. For all those drivers within 3-4 points of each other right on the cut line, it's probably going to be the most important bonus point for the pole we've seen all season long. It's really your opportunity to be the first one to land a big blow on your competitors and try to get that extra point that everyone's going to be thinking about going into this race.
Here comes Garrett Grant. He will be the first driver to take the green flag here in qualifying.
One lap as well.
Yeah, not a lot of lifting either. You're pretty much committing to throttle and just picking the line. And this is your only go, so you don't want to run high and build up momentum. You've got to kind of carry as much speed as you can for one and only one lap.
You can see how big of an arc he took, trying to full throttle all the way to 3 and 4. So you need to take that big arc to make sure you can pin it to the bottom of the racetrack. You can see such a low exit there, just trying to get to the apron immediately. He'll come across the line of 3.879. He'll be the first one to put a time down. Jacob Bell next. He will not go faster than the 42. After him, got to go all the way back to Michael Curhan, who will be the next one to put a time down.
And Curhan joins us again with his nightly posting on the wall, and he's got the broadcaster pick standings. I'm leading over you, Connor, and over Finian as well, and I'm told that Michael wants me to pick him, not because he told me to, but thanks for picking him yesterday. It wasn't a bad pick yesterday, and so far not a bad one today, to the top of the board at a 37.94.
Very fast yesterday and looking to be fast once again. Pole by a 1/10 of a second over Garrett Grant, as we'll see who else wants to come on track. Slow trickle so far. Cameron Hearn pulls off the apron, so he'll be the next one in line. He's had a decent season in the Truck Series. I believe he won Talladega to come into the playoffs, but few runs maybe not what he wanted, and now he finds himself below the cut line. It's just how tough of a Truck Series field this is when you get to the very top of things, as he runs that outside line, cuts it down to the apron at the very last second, which is important for your momentum when you're starting your one and only lap, as I'm sure he'll go to the bottom again. Got to be careful down there, though. You got to full throttle if you want to be at the top of the board, but there's also a lot of bumps down there you're going to have to navigate.
Yeah, and Cameron Hearn, while he has had a decent season in the trucks, 2023 has been a bad luck year for him. I think he'd like to have it turn around a bit tonight. Right on the apron, against that white line in 3 and 4. Let's see what he can do coming out of the final corner. And across the stripe for Cameron Hearn at a 38.38, and that will put him second for now.
Got a few other drivers going. Yeah, you said it has been bad luck for the 4, Hearn and maybe all 3 series at some points, but also it's still a little better than last season. That shows you what he went through last season. I don't know if he even got a single win the previous season. So going better, but still not quite up there. As a few drivers on laps right now. Justin Anasogak won, but obviously looking at the man to beat right now, James Scioli, fast in practice, but not first in practice, as he's going to go very shallow entry into turn number 3. That kind of surprised me. He was 6th in practice. We'll see what he can do here. Yeah,
kind of middle of the road line down the back straight, almost qualifying this like Daytona, as Anasogak goes to the top of the board. But for how long? Well, we'll stay there now. Scioli goes 3rd quick. I was a bit surprised to see that shallow entry. We even saw with Garrett Grant, who tried to carry full throttle into 3 and 4, that he had to just crack it just a little bit to get the truck to rotate on corner entry.
Yeah, I understand where they're coming from. There's another shallow exit by Senesac. They are trying to qualify it like it's a super speedway. 30.904 for Senesac puts him 7th out of 8. So the 88 stays on provisional pole. But yeah, it is surprising to see the shallow, because this track is still somewhat bumpy and handling still matters here. You could get away with maybe shallow entries and exits at Atlanta, but this is not that type of track, obviously. I think you need those arcs into the corner to carry enough speed as Travis Beckner comes on track to start his attack.
Beckner on the high lane here in 3 and 4. And he will begin his efforts. I think he'd like to have a bit of a turnaround tonight after having a pretty catastrophic opening round of round 2 of the playoffs in the Cup Series, getting caught up in a wreck early in the going. And I think he'd like to come out strong and have a shot at least one of the championships that he's involved in this season.
I would sure hope he's involved in at least one of them. He has plenty of speed to do it, and we saw it in practice last night, but he was already out after Cameron Hearn and a lot of others involved in that crash with nowhere to go, and he was pretty much out after 20 or so laps. But like you said, he'll try to do better. Another shallow exit across the line, 30.812. Good enough for 4th as he weaves around. Probably not happy about it. A few more drivers coming on track. Bretzlar Jr. stopped, so he'll restart again. David Weishart and Braden Goddard on track.
Yeah, Weishart up next in the number 29 Matco Tools Chevrolet. Another one of the favorites, I think, this season alongside James Scioli. Scioli's got that massive buffer that Weishart can't really enjoy. So he's got work to do, but was relatively quick in practice as he begins his run down the front straightaway.
I think he's a big threat for pole. See what he does. Maybe a car width off the wall entering. Gets right to the white line. You see that truck really moving around, but able to keep it planted on the pedal and also just to the bottom of the racetrack. He won't see how shallow he goes. Not too shallow, but not a big arc either. Kind of in the middle, which isn't a bad strategy either. You could see just barely got the left sides on that white line. You could see a wiggle because of it.
Here comes Weishart across the stripe. Let's see what he can do in qualifying. A 37.88. That'll be good enough for 2nd, front row for now.
Just barely missed out on the 88's time as Braden Goddard went 30.981. He goes to 10th. Ricky Harden returning after his move is finally completed, so he's back in the race truck on a lap here. Made the playoffs. Wasn't able to participate in it, unfortunately, but he's definitely shown speed already tonight. 3rd in practice.
Always looks like he's having a good time. A little bit of a push there in 3 and 4.
Still needs some additions to the room.
Yeah. And across the stripe at a 39.51. That'll be only 12th quick. And Mason Kane goes 3rd fastest.
Solid lap for the 31.
Stanley Ware starting a lap.
Talk about a dynamic duo. He's sponsored by Dude Wipes, and on the rear bumper, he's got Taco Bell.
Down the back straightaway, he rockets in the 49 Chevrolet. And Swan, Alan Elwood, and now Eric Wineland also getting rolling, as is Tom Bourne, another playoff competitor.
Wow, couldn't tell if he wanted that shallow or he had a slide. You can tell he was kind of out of whack. 30.844. It was pretty fast though, but it'll be just 9th place.
Here's Tom Bourne, should be the next driver to come across the stripe. And Tom Bourne has been really consistent up to now, Connor, but consistency is only going to get you so far in this elimination style championship. You have to get top 3s, top 2s, and a victory now and then. It'd be really surprising if you could just average your way to a title, but not a bad lap. It'll put him 10th, but I think he would have liked a bit more. Ryan Swan goes 13th.
Yeah, he's only really a 10th. Oh, wow.
Alan Elwood grabbed the grass, and it could probably cost him a 10th, but he will land 10th in the number 10.
And let's say Tom Bourne was only a 10th off Anna Sogak, but he is outside the top 10, which just shows once again how close this field can be as Eric Wineland on track. He is putting a time down, a little bit slower out of 2, and even more shallow out of 2. I'm really still surprised to see the shallow exits. I get entrance, but I feel like you need to kind of carry that speed to the exit. Well, you might have hit the apron there a little bit as he's staying planted to the bottom.
Out of turn 4, here comes Eric Wineland across the stripe. What'll it be? A 38.81 and only about 14th quick. Bronson Stafford, Justin Munsell still left to go.
And yep, Josh Taylor, Gary Waterworth also in. I don't know if they're in the session, but they did register, but they haven't put a time down. So Stafford will cross the line, start his lap just before Munsell. We'll see what these two can do. And it'll definitely not be, no matter what, we'll not see a playoff driver on the pole. I was hoping up that bonus point. No one's going to get it.
Down the back straightaway. into turns 3 and 4. And you mentioned the bonus point for being on pole. It will not be a playoff competitor, as you mentioned, so it will not affect the championship. Here comes Stafford across the stripe in the 61 at a 38.36. Not a bad lap, puts him 8th. And Justin Munsell, 38.16, even quicker, 8th.
Solid times there, but kind of surprising to me. I thought the track would cool down and you'd want to go out late, but the drivers who went out early end up on top, especially the 88 on pole. It's a way to come back after being bumped out of the playoffs last week. Comes back with maybe his first pole position of the week. As we look at the playoff standings once again, the 88 was one of those drivers eliminated. Garrett Grant was, I believe, the last driver in. You can see how tight it's going to be tonight.
Yeah, really interesting that in the top 10, there were 2 drivers above the cut line and 2 drivers below it, and the same was true outside the top 10. So it's a pretty even split so far in terms of the successes of the 8 remaining playoff competitors. And the race will begin here in just a few minutes' time. It's 120 laps as we get set to go racing here from Las Vegas. In just a moment, we'll go over our Roasted Gems Coffee starting lineup. Race fans, start your engines with a fresh cup of Roasted Gems coffee. Choose from some of the finest coffee beans from Colombia and Peru, or try the blended flavors of French vanilla and hazelnut. Use discount code AREA iRacing for 10% off your order at checkout at roastedgems.com. So the start of this race, Connor, it's going to be just at dusk. The end of this race will be at night. What kind of transition do we have to worry about, or is it not going to make that big of a difference in terms of track temperature and rubbering in?
This track might be starting, the time of day might be so late for the start of this race, it might not make much of a difference. We're going to be pretty full throttle from the very beginning, but that tire wear will no doubt, when the sun is completely down, that tire wear will be less and less of a factor, and you will probably not have to save the tires on the short run as much if you want to be at the front at the very end of a potential long run. So I think we're going to see a lot of aggressive drivers once the lights come fully on.
Well, trucks are down on the grid and getting ready to line up and go racing. 25 of them. We'll kick this off, and let's go through our Roasted Gems Coffee starting lineup. On row number 1, it's going to be Justin Anasogak, recently eliminated from the playoffs, but still trying to state his case that he should be in it. David Weishart starts second, one of those championship 4 above the cut line coming into tonight.
Another driver just eliminated as well, Mason Kane, who qualifies 3rd. A great qualifying effort for him, alongside the 24 truck of Michael Currahan, who we'll see if you pick him tonight. We'll see. Yeah,
we'll see. James Skyley starts 5th. He's got a pretty good cushion, but just don't burn it up tonight, and he'll be locked in for next week. Travis Beckner starts 6th in the number 28.
Greg Mitchell, Final Four contender from the Pro Series last season. He'll start 7th in the Truck Series tonight alongside Justin Munsell, who's waiting to get that breakout win. He's been so close, and he'll start 8th trying to get it tonight.
Bronson Stafford starts 9th in the number 61. Cameron Hearn starts 10th in the number 4.
See, Brad Slaughter Jr. was trying to look for him. He is starting 11th position, a little further back than he would want, alongside that dude wipe Silverado of Danny Ware in 12th.
13th place is Alan Elwood in the number 10. Tom Bourne starts 14th in the number 16 truck.
Garrett Grant's going to start in the 15th position. Not too bad, but I believe he's the worst out of the playoff drivers, just in 15th position. He'll start alongside Eric Wineland in 16th.
17th place, Jacob Bell in the number 77. Ryan Swan, 18th in the number 1.
Bryce Senesac starting 19th position after being, I think, in top 10 in practice, but he'll start near the rear of the field alongside A.J. Roger rounding out the top 20.
It's 21st place, Ricky Harden making his return in the number 15. Braden Goddard starts 22nd. Then it's Bobby Tinch, Gary Waterworth, and Josh Taylor wrapping up the rest of your field. Pick me a driver to win this race, Connor. There's a bunch to choose from.
There's a bunch to choose from. Everyone's fast tonight, but I think the 28's calling my name. He needs redemption after last night, and I think this is just the type of race that he's going to go out and win. So give me Travis Beckner.
Well, I like a driver that is above the cut line already and one that we know can win. It's David Weishart for me, the number 29. Rolls off in 2nd place. I'm playing to Michael Currahan's point system. I know Weishart isn't going to let me down. 120 laps tonight from Las Vegas Motor Speedway in the Area Truck Series playoffs. Race 1 of round 2 is underway from Sin City. Out of turn 4, still side by side for the lead. Weishart edges ahead. He leads lap number 1 over Anna Sogak, Kurhan, Kane, Scioli, and more. Beckner still in the outside lane, but the 88 fighting back tough on the bottom, Connor.
Trying to get it done on the bottom. That bottom's where you want to be if you're alone, but that top side gets such a run through 1 and 2, and you're able to avoid the bumps up there. So no surprise that the 29 was able to get the lead away from Anna Sogak.
Now the question is, are they going to single out and start to stretch a gap, or are they going to stay packed up? It's 2 by 2 so far. So will it filter out, or will it get crazier and wilder as the laps go on? Weishart way down on the apron, maybe trying to break the draft. Look at Kurhan on the outside lane in the 24.
Also likely just trying to get a little bit of a run. You get a bit of a run if you take the tri-oval. I think a car slid back there, but he's all good. As you get a run if you use that tri-oval. It was tough to do last night because of how wacky the next-gen cars can be, but you can do it in the truck series tonight and probably have no penalty for it as Anna Sogak goes back to the lead.
Yeah, good power move there by the 88. Mason Kane still lingers back here as the rest of the field filters on through to complete lap number 2, 4, 3. What lap are we on?
4. Well, they completed lap 3.
Things happen quick here, and they're going to click them off really quick here tonight. This is a 120-lap race, not a very long one, actually. If we go green from flag to flag, it's about 59 minutes from now that we'll see that checkered flag. Here comes the 29 again. 2 by 2 for the lead.
He'll get the lead back. We'll see if he has it at the line. We're maybe seeing these guys try to get single file, but not the case. They almost look, Mason Kane almost look 3 wide middle as they're 2 by 2 within the top 6 cars as Beckner's making a charge closer to the front as Weishart once again goes back to the lead.
7 slips just a little bit. You see Kurhan get backed up on the bottom. The 28 follows him as well. Still 2 by 2, Connor, so I think you're right about the way this is going to pack race a bit, at least for the early going. You're not going to be able to break away. You're going to be stuck in line. Look at the 8 of Brett Slaughter Jr. He's a driver that kind of slid by us a bit in qualifying. Started 11th, kind of mired back here. I'd expect more of him later in this race, but right now, stuck outside the top 10.
Kurhan up the track as Weishart chopped the 7, kind of caused the butterfly effect there as, not a great qualifying effort, and I think because of the way this pack race is, the way this track race is, it's going to be tough to make up track position in a way because you can't really get that big of runs on drivers. The track isn't big enough to really do that, so someone coming from the back like Garrett Grant starting 15th, he's already dropped back to 19th as well, but it's going to be much tougher to make moves, try to get to the front.
Whoa, big slide dice there from the 8 and the 61. The 2, Mitchell drifts up mid-corner. Now, drivers right now having to stay really mentally focused. Think back a couple weeks to Talladega, Connor, how much drivers had to focus to pick their line, but you can't change lanes mid-corner as easily as you could at a place like Talladega. So once you commit, you're committed. And that can lead to some big dramas later in the race when you just don't have the tires to maintain the line that you did pick.
You just don't have the room to do that as well. You have 4 lanes at Talladega. You're really only going to have 2 consistent lanes. Whoa, that's getting dicey at the back.
3 wide, Bronson Stafford in the middle of it. They were almost looking 4. Brad Slaughter's on the bottom, and he's got the most to lose of the drivers in this group, but Tom Bourne's kind of in a bad spot too.
Yeah, and we've already seen 5 wide in practice, so who knows what we'll see if we get to the end of the race with everyone on top of one another. But look at this 7 of Scioli coming to the front once again. Content to shove the 29 for now up at the front as Slaughter still tries to work through the field, but not making much progress. That 7's looking racy. I think he wants to go, but he's also just trying not to make the move too soon because you could go backwards if you play your cards wrong.
Well, the back is singling out. There's still some side-by-side from 3rd on back. Justin Munsell, Cameron Hearn on the outside lane following Anna Sogak and working lap number 10 of 120.
The 7 makes a peek to the outside, maybe just trying to block the advancement of the 88 as well. Big stack up after Scioli's move. The 6 goes up the track. 3 wide middle comes Cameron Hearn. No stranger to those moves. They bang doors, still 3 wide. That could have been catastrophic, but they make it work for now.
Yeah, not waiting around is Cameron Hearn. Middle, 3 wide and bouncing off doors. He doesn't have to pull risks that big this early, Connor, but if you can state your case that you're going to play aggressive, maybe the drivers that are not in the playoffs will let you have it for now. But Cameron still got his nose up the middle of a 3 wide situation and not looking like he's willing to bail out. Munsell way high in turn 2.
He's been trying that. I don't know if he's been trying that line or he's trying to drop to the back or it's just too bumpy up there, and he keeps trying it. But yeah, the 4 is going to be aggressive tonight. We see it at the super speedways all the time. It's going to race like one. You know he's going to be racing like it is one. He needs points. He might be in a situation where if he doesn't get good points this week, he's going to have to win next week. It's not going to be a good situation if he's in that situation. So he's going to try to get as many points tonight as possible, working his way up close to the top 3.
Before Cameron Hearn got loose on the apron, was straddling that banking there for a moment. And talk about focus. Look at Curhan's eyes right now. So focused in the moment. Has a chance to look down at the gauges just for a second as he slots ahead of Scioli. But right now, this is tight margins here. A couple feet between each other on internet from around the country that you're just trusting is going to be accurate enough for you to race this close, this tight.
Yeah, this is probably just over half the field, still 2 by 2. You really got to wait till Ryan Swan until you have official single file. These guys just laying back, trying to save tire and maybe get to the front at the end of a potential long run, or just avoid the big one that might be brewing. Because look at these guys all over each other. Most of the pack separated by, top 15 separated by just over a second last time by. This is wild stuff as the top 2 get away once again. It's Curhan who got the second over Scioli.
Brad Slaughter, he's making moves forward right now. Middle 3 wide between the 4 of Cameron Hearn, who comes across the nose of the 8. That was almost disaster for both.
Ooh, Slaughter's up the track. Hearn's just going to shut the door. That's a bold move to make. Gets in front of the 88. Now Slaughter gets to the bottom side of him, but that stacked up the 88 big time. Cameron Hearn is not taking prisoners so far.
No, that was so close off into turn 1. They made it out the other side, but this 8 is moving forward. Remember, he started 11th. He was running 12th when we last checked in. He's up to 5th place now, and another hip check there from the 4 maybe.
That was almost like a swerve to say, hey, I'm going to be running at the front. You just got to follow me. That's kind of what the vibe I got from that is he is trying to get to the front fast. Curhan almost tapped the wall, trying to keep Scioli behind him as the 7 comes back in line. As that the 29 starts to build probably the biggest gap of the night, and it's only 0.2 of a second.
Working lap 16 now. Weishart leads. Important if he can lead the most laps and lock that bonus point in. But he's a long way from making that a reality. He would have to go another 45 laps to lock that. Actually, a bit more than that even, as others have led so far.
Probably not too far. I mean, we're still far away from pit stops, but I don't think we'll see them get close to lap 60 if it went green to that point. Don't think the fuel will last with how full throttle this is going. So if you're split up in thirds, Beckner almost hit the wall back there. If you were to split up in thirds, you pit lap 40, lap 80, but we'll see what strategy ends up happening.
Yeah, Beckner kind of recoiled, almost touching the wall, then turned left off the corner and almost bounced into Munsell. And the 6 shoots up the racetrack. Big understeer moment there, and the 28 crosses him over on exit.
Tries to get to the bottom, but so tough to make that pass work on the bottom. We saw it last night. It's going to be even harder tonight, I think, but he has room up. I think he will be able to make this pass. That's for the 7th position as the 6s kind of start falling back a little bit. As now we're starting to see the front runners get single file after being 2 by 2 maybe 3 laps ago. We're single file all the way back to the battle for 10th with Danny Ware and Mason Kane.
Still 2 by 2 between the 49 and 31. This is a battle for 10th. And Beckner almost cleared Munsell into 3, but the 6 throttles up mid-corner and keeps the run on the outside.
Yeah, Beckner went to the bottom in 1 and 2 because he thought he had the position done no matter what, but Munsell throttled up through the middle of the corner and was able to get back up there, but you can see that 28 just a little bit faster off of turn 4. We'll see if he can clear him back on the bottom. Just too bumpy down there. That bottom's becoming an issue.
So the front is singling out. Now the midfield is getting a bit racier here. Oh, there they touch the 09 as Senesac bounces off the 21 of Wineland and a couple others scatter, the 42 included.
Ooh,
that was close.
Alan Elwood. Yeah, Alan Elwood was right behind that. You can see the red banner just in front of him is Garrett Grant. That was, I don't think Greg Mitchell thought they were close to 3 wide.
Yeah, I mean, it was only 1 outside, and he just kind of shifted over to the right, and then by the time that he did that, it was 2 outside of him there, so that's an honest, easy mistake to make. Garrett Grant pushing up the track and kind of stuck up there.
Beckner still cannot clear the 6 of Munsell, even though I think he's faster. And then at this point, when these side-by-side battles happen, it starts to come down to who's pushing you very close between the 0.9 and the 2. It comes down to who's going to push you. Stafford's going to go up to 28, but no, he's not. He's going to go to his right rear. So you know very easily who your friends are at this point, as Senesac's got some friends on the top line with Wineland, Grant, and Elwood.
Yeah, see the whole field migrating up to that middle groove now as the tires begin to burn off a little bit 21 laps into this run. The middle line is a little easier to maintain without scrubbing tires. And the field is singling out, Connor, and you and I talked before the show started that if we were to get completely singled out, this race could really easily go green all the way. And that would be bad news for drivers like Garrett Grant and Alan Elwood, who have fallen to the tail of the field.
Yeah, Grant's gone back 2 positions. Elwood's gone back 5 positions. Majority of those because he had to check up for a potential crash. But it could go green, has single filed out, but there are still 23 drivers in the main pack, in the main draft, separated by 4 seconds. The only 2 drivers off this line, this conga line, I'd call it, Bobby Tinch and Braden Goddard, who have dropped just trying to save themselves, I think. But we are seeing fall off more than I expected. The time from David Weishart, the race leader, he's already off over a second.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty similar fall off to what we saw last night with the next gen car. So that's a lot more than I expected as well. And that will kind of lend things to get strung out a bit more. But then you're going to get your comers and goers like we talked about last night. Is drivers that go out too hard on the set of tires and burn them up, they will fall back into the clutches of the field. And those that save the tires will generally trend forward towards the end of a run. So we could see some of that as well. But Weishart looks pretty consistent and solid so far, although Curhan is turning laps slightly quicker.
I'm liking what Scioli's doing, though. I still think, although that middle line is where everyone's going because of the bumps, I still think if you have no one behind you pressuring you to try to pass you, bottom's where you still want to be for tire conservation in turns 1 and 2. Weishart's not able to do that because of Curhan right on his bumper entering the corner each and every lap, but Scioli has no pressure. Ooh, 29 had a big wiggle there.
Big wiggle, that'll open the door for Curhan to the inside. And here comes the 24.
Braden Goddard drops off. I think he just called it a night. But yeah, you want to be on that bottom just to save the tires. Scioli has, I believe, half a second over Cameron Hearn, and Ford's not pressuring him at all. So Scioli's able to run that bottom line with really no repercussions.
Weishart doesn't challenge it back. He slots himself into second place. Front 3 kind of pulling away. Here's a little side-by-side Beckner and Munsell. These 2 have been alongside each other quite a bit tonight already.
Sure have. They have not left each other alone. I think Beckner's been on the bottom for 10 laps or so. Just cannot get this pass done, although he's been alongside on the bottom for this long. You got to believe the 6 is struggling. But Bronson Stafford doesn't know that. He's just trying to run the top line to defend from Danny Ware, so there's no choice but to push this 6 truck.
Garrett Grant was crowding Wineland and Senesac a little bit. They're still doing that off into turn 3. He wants the middle groove, but with the trucks to his outside, he can't fully put his Ford F-150 there. And they might start arguing with bodywork here in just a moment if they continue.
It almost didn't last that long after you just said it, but yes, these 2 are getting awfully close. You can see Beckner, look how high up the racetrack he just went. He's trying to arc him out of the corner up there, and I think that's what Garrett Grant tried to do. They're dooring, making contact. There it is. Still making contact almost off of turn 2, but this 42 might go backwards here in a moment. Oh, almost another one.
Yeah, I'm sensing a little bit of desperation out of the 42 to start making moves and progress forward, but you don't want to get yourself in trouble with a guy like Eric Wineland who's got nothing to lose.
Man, the 42 squeezes the 21. Beckner just squeezed in front of the 6 of Munsell in the same exact fashion. Those 2 still going at it, but the 6 finally had to give way as Beckner pulls away through the corner. Still no changes with the top 3 since Curhan took the leads. Curhan, Weishart, Scioli, and then Hearn and Slaughter just sitting in line.
The 6 of Munsell crosses ahead of Bronson Stafford in the 61. Still laps clicking away, coming up the 1/4 mark of this race already. But we're seeing a lot riskier moves now as trucks are driving less and less good. We're seeing a bit more risks taken, and see Senesac's going to try to slot ahead of the 77, and
oh man,
Jacob Bell didn't like that very much.
No, he didn't at all, and I can't really blame him for that as Garrett Grant gives the 77 a big shot down the straightaway. As it is definitely getting testy back here because they see the leaders getting away. And those leaders, if they get away, unless you short pit, it's going to be hard to get back to him with how relevant the draft is tonight. So you got to be wary of that if you're in the midfield losing the leaders. Here goes Scioli for second at the front while these two still bump draft each other. Scioli trying to make it work. He will just squeeze in front.
And again, Weishart allowing him to have it, isn't fighting it back immediately. Kind of a gentlemanly thing to do at this stage of the race. He knows there's a lot of time left to go. I would start to worry a bit about Alan Elwood. He has not made much progress at all. He's actually gone backwards. He's starting to kind of reverse that slide, but pace does not seem to be here, at least this early on in the race.
No, and as it runs like now, he would be 12 back from the cut line, so not what he needs. For a driver, maybe not on a consistency level of Tom Board, but he still had such a solid season regardless of that, but needs to pick some speed up at some point. But you could see how tough it is to pass, especially when you got two drivers side by side just not moving. He's got nowhere to go right now.
Danny Weir and Justin Munsell almost came together out of turn 2. Here comes Mason Kane and Tom Bourne. Bourne, a driver that came in above the cut line, but not really running as well as the points would suggest. He's got two drivers below the cut line, outperforming him right now. Not where you want to be if you want to move on to that next round of the playoffs.
He is 2 back of Beckner
for
that
behind
cut
him,
line.
crash.
Whoa.
And Garrett Grant's in it.
Oh,
and so
no.
is Elwood.
Oh my goodness. Huge hits back there. That took about a third of the field out, including those two drivers you mentioned. They are destroyed.
There's Alan Elwood getting turned back around. You see the disbelief. And I guess yet to be determined how much damage he has. But that steering wheel is very off. And it's a sinking feeling watching it happen. But here is what happened on the Simrad Market replay.
We know Wineland and Bell were battling, but Wineland and the 42 of Grant were battling.
Oh, the 42 is going to slip up here. And they just kind of get hung together. And oh, man, big hits.
Swan, Taylor. Couldn't see who else was there. I think maybe Senesac just barely avoided it. I think AJ Roderick. Huge hits. When something like that happens off the corner in the racing line, there's nowhere these guys can go. Gary Waterworth, all those guys had nothing they could do. Basically,
everybody behind him, they were just committed to their line, Connor, and there was, as you said, nothing they could do to change the direction at that stage. So watch the 42 slides up here into the 10. Gets into him, pushes him up into the outside wall, and then they basically just stop. And then watch the 10 get rear-ended from behind. Holy cow, that thing was airborne.
Just nothing they could do there. Ricky Harden involved in that as well. When you get tight on the bottom over the bumps at Vegas in turns 1 and 2, there's nothing you could do. You're long for the ride. Garrett Grant, I could guarantee you, wow, Waterworth pile drove the 10, but I can guarantee you Garrett Grant was fully out of the gas. But at that point, when you wash up because of dirty air, there is nothing you can do, as that takes Josh Taylor and Gary Waterworth immediately out of this race. Probably won't be the only ones. Curhan gets the lead off of pit road there, as I think he had the lead anyway, so no surprise there. But huge implications, no doubt about that. Two drivers who have been solid this year, especially Alan Elwood, they might be done for good.
Yeah, that was certainly the Waterworth, Taylor, and Braden Goddard, who was already out. They're definitely out, but that was such a big hit, and you see the frustration on Alan Elwood's face. Yeah, you're right. I mean, not much that. I mean, once Garrett got pushed up or kind of slid up the hill, lifting isn't going to do anything. You're just going to. I mean, you commit and then that's it, right? There's nothing much more, and obviously you have to lie the blame on the 42, but only a limited amount because, as you know, Connor, sometimes you slip up and there's just not much you can do after that.
Got that right. It's just so tough to predict because it's probably the first time that had happened to him as well. He'd been running at the back, but he'd been running okay. That had not been happening, and we haven't really seen anyone have that issue until that very point. But clearly, just got to the point in the run where the tires on the bottom of the track just had no more to give.
So 1 to green already, and pit stops have already been underway for everybody. Alan Elwood is rolling again, but it doesn't actually seem like the engine's all that damaged and the steering's relatively straight, so it's not over yet as he has to slow down to catch the field. Not over till it's over, but it's going to make this night a lot less fun.
Yeah, no doubt about that. As two drivers when two drivers wreck below the cut line, you got to imagine that they're just absolutely devastated. As you can see from what we saw, he is almost in disbelief. Kind of what we saw from Justin Munsell a few weeks back at Talladega, just disbelief, shocked that it happened. And now you just, I guess, unless it's repaired, you just ride around and just hope something else happens. But both these drivers are 12 or 17 to 23 points back at the cut line as it runs, so they need a lot of help.
Yeah, and it's not like Garrett got into the 10 and drove off scot-free. He was also involved and has damage as well. So certainly not a result that either of them wanted. But lap 36 going to get back underway here from Las Vegas, and we'll resume the action from Sin City. Kurhan, a nice clean restart, back underway.
And as these guys restart, Kurhan gets clear for the race lead. The cut line's still very close. Tom Bourne, he got some positions. He's up to 9th. He's 1 to the good over Beckner. But obviously, we're going to get back to that pack racing style for a little while here. So everyone's going to be scrambling, including those playoff drivers.
Yeah, now you get the old Larry Mack cautions, breed cautions sort of scenario here.
Oh, someone up the track in the back. I
Look
think
out.
that was Greg Mitchell.
Hearn wanted underneath Brad Slaughter Jr. and was looking onto the apron to do it as Scioli takes the lead.
Scioli finally, seems like finally, he thought he was already led, but he hadn't, so he gets his first lap led, as points definitely matter for the 7.
The 16 was on the apron out of turn 2.
Trying to ride, I think. I don't think he wants to run too hard. He's giving Bronson Safford the top, but yet another point to Scioli's tally that he probably doesn't really need that badly, but always good to run at the front as a tune-up, maybe if you make it to Homestead, Miami in a few weeks' time, as still single file with the top 4, but jockeying behind them, Beckner and Bourne and Cameron Hearn all on top of one another. Oh, car way up the track. That was Wineland. I don't know if Unsel hit him, but I thought he was going around.
Trying to filter back out on the back straightaway. Couple trucks inside and outside. The 6 of Munsell went backwards pretty significantly in this exchange. The 09 on the apron had a big slip up. Mason Kane looks to the inside of him. The race still is going pretty quick, Connor. We're almost a third of the way through already.
Yeah, this will change the strategy up a bit. We're looking at a 2-stop. I think if it went green from here, undoubtedly it's a 1-stop from here. As start to see more separation from the leaders than we saw the first run, as Weishart dove to the bottom of Scioli there in the 3. I think he tried to catch him by surprise to get the lead back, as I was going to say those top 3 are pulling away. That might not last much longer with them side by side. Yeah,
the second you get side by side, you just pull each other right back into the fray. But Weishart cut Scioli a break earlier. I wouldn't be surprised to see the same played in return.
Oh, Slaughter got loose back there. Kurhan looked to the bottom, couldn't do anything, but I said they would probably filter back to the pack. They are a little bit, but they're still racing so hard for 4th.
Scioli's won 5 times this season, Weishart 2. And David going back to the outside again, so what was a bit of competition earlier is back to a fierce fight here.
I think Scioli can just full throttle the bottom here and clear him back, but Weishart will also just be able to go back to the bottom and try to take it right back. So these two content with swapping. Cameron Hearn, big top to bottom move, trying to get Tom Bourne that spot away from the 16. Bourne, all of a sudden, he's up into the top 5 after that.
Oh, the 77 of Jacob Bell almost got into the side of Travis Beckner. Still door-to-door for the lead. The 7 to the inside now.
They have no issue swapping back and forth, swapping lanes. Scioli try to clear again. It's going to be close. I think he will shut the door. Nope, he hesitated. 29 stays on the outside. And here comes Cameron Hearn.
Into the mix. Always a wild card is this 4.
Oh, he wanted to get to the bottom of Scioli. Now he's just going to shove him into turn number 1 here. Almost got him sideways over the transition. He wants to lead, but he'll be in dirty air and won't be able to do much here, I don't think.
Look at Tom Bourne rising to the occasion.
Yep.
Let's see what he's got racecraft-wise to start slicing and dicing for the lead. We've seen him finish very well all season long, but he has not won a race yet.
Could be the night, could be anyone's game for all we know. Jacob Bell's making his way up to the front. He's up in a battle for 7th with Brad Slaughter at this point. Beckner is now the one kind of going backwards a little bit. He was running 7th before the restarts, but just not making up the time that the 16 is all of a sudden.
Big push from the 29 to the 7. Shoots Scioli out by about a half a truck length.
Curhan, I think, had a wiggle.
Yeah, they're stacking him up behind. This is where the slightest slip up from anybody is going to result in a crash. You don't have a lot of room to make up for it. Cameron Hearn down the inside, wasting no time.
Scioli pinching, Hearn up the track. I think Scioli wanted to shut it off, couldn't do it in time. Now they're 2x2 at the front, but look at the shove the 29's giving Scioli. Scioli chops the nose of Cameron Hearn. Hearn tried to give him the bumper, I think. He wasn't happy about it, but Scioli keeps the lead, but he gets sideways. Very risky racing for a driver who, one driver who can't afford to lose anything. I guess one driver sort of can, but you don't want to.
Yeah, Scioli again has a pretty sizable gap coming into this.
He hit him.
He did knock him up the racetrack a bit.
Oh, man.
Scioli doesn't want to use that 38-point buffer, but the way Cameron is all over him right now. Look at the big block defensive move from the 4, defense and offense all at once.
No, you don't want to use that buffer up this week, especially going to a short track next week. You don't want to have to risk that, so got to be very careful. Weishart said over the radio he will wreck him next time, so markers being tallied, and we are not even halfway yet. Here he goes at the bottom again. This is, the way they're talking, it might not end well.
Yeah, it's interesting that the tempers are already flaring. Not even to halfway yet, but they feel like it's coming down to crunch time. Cameron did lay off the 7 a bit that lap.
Well, if he gets too close to the bumper entering too many times, the 7 will spin. There's nothing you can do about it when you get aero loose, but I think he's backing off a little bit, maybe because his tires might be hurting, but Weishart continues to push the 7 as the 4 still tries to work the bottom. You can see much more connection on the top lane, but Tom Bourne can't really get to Cameron Hearn to help him out with a push right now. Hearn's also just trying to get a bonus point for a lap led here as well.
Yeah, so far he has not led a lap. Scioli and Weishart have, and he's pulling through now. I wonder if he'll steal it this time, and he is close. Yes, this lap, Cameron Hearn grabs that bonus point.
And that makes him the 3rd playoff driver to lead a lap other than Scioli and Weishart. And it is a big bonus point to get with how tight that cut line's looking. He's still below it as it runs by 4. Oh, car on the wall. I think Bronson Stafford hit it. Don't think anyone else hit him, though, but that looked to be a pretty wild moment.
Yeah, Mason Kane dove out of the way. Ricky Harden bailed out as well. They did a nice job preventing that. Scioli back around the outside of the 4. And Weishart might give the 7 another push.
I think we're starting to get to that point in a run where the bottom line running it might be a losing battle for a little while. I don't think Hearn will lose too much time, but we saw, especially in the mid-pack, that bottom, the bumps just become so harsh. You could see how much that truck jumped up and down, and he had to fully lift, as did Tom Bourne. He's back to 5th now. Well,
had a benefit of his teammate following him that was able to give him a shove and didn't pop out of line to make a pass. That's helpful. Bezikas Motorsports truck of Cameron Hearn, or excuse me, Michael Curhan. 50 laps down, 70 to go.
Now we're starting to see that single file aspect come out again, and see if Weishart wants to try to get the lead back. They kind of work together against Cameron Hearn there, it seemed like, but he's looking content to continue to push the 7 right now.
Turn 4, nice single file line, but this is when it gets frustrating as a driver because it feels like you're running out of mobility. You feel like Superman on those fresh tires, Connor, where you can kind of put the truck anywhere, but then you have to start using the outside line as a crutch, and that gets frustrating when everyone else goes up there as well.
Yeah, it can definitely be frustrating, and there's not much you can really do about it, so you just kind of have to take it as it goes and kind of play a little bit of offense and defense at the same time. Tough to do, but it can be done. But kind of surprised he's still sticking up there. I thought Hearn's tires would maybe wear a little worse, but he's staying with Weishart, and Tom Bourne's still trying to get back by Curhan, but he can't do it.
I don't know how much Weishart is mirror driving or how much he's just running defense right now. I know that he and Hearn are probably disagreeing, at least under the virtual helmet.
Curhan's starting to mount the charge. I have a feeling Curhan saved while these 3 really battled hard, so He did it the last run too. He got the lead back, so we'll see if he can do it. Hurd is giving no air. He's putting all the air on that spoiler of Weishart, just shoving him out of a corner.
Well, he said he would wreck him. I don't know if I believe him just yet.
Weishart said it.
Right.
I don't know if I believe it either.
Yeah, that's. I guess that's why I'm not believing it. But
well, you learn not to underestimate those threats.
Yes. Yes. Oof. Fresh wounds.
You got to be aware. I will say that. But running at the front, like these two are both in playoff contention, would be ill-advised, especially in the pack with how tight the racing is as they come up the lap Allen Elwood. The only saving grace for Elwood, if he got a yellow and wasn't involved in it, he could still get the lucky dog, but that 10 truck is looking very worse for wear.
Yeah, Elwood is definitely struggling. He's going to go a lap down here. So, the fact that he's still on the lead lap is pretty amazing. But Garrett Grant is faring better. Not great, but better. And that will likely turn things into a must-win scenario for the 10 next week if things kind of finish as they are with the rest of the playoff competitors focused pretty highly up front.
Yeah, and Garrett Grant as well. Both drivers will be in the same situation. Grant's probably 18, 19 seconds behind the leaders. He's running with Ryan Swan. He won't be too far away from being lapped either. So definitely two drivers who already came in a bad point situation just kind of accelerated the fact that they would probably need the win.
Lap 57 of 120. Weishart again going way down to the grass. And Hurd followed.
Yeah, I think that wasn't really Hurd. I don't think that was even a block, though. I think Weishart did that first, and Hurd just trying to make sure he stays in the draft. Because he's going to need some draft. Oh, the bottom. Nope, that was Elwood.
I guess whether or not it was a block, the difference between oval racing and road racing is that in oval racing, it is self-policing. You're free and welcome to throw a block, but if you get wrecked, that's just how it is.
Can't cry about it if you do, especially if it's egregious and through the tri-oval. But yeah, the blocks will become even heavier later in the race. You thought Cameron Hurd's block there was bad. If we get to that point in the race where it might be a short run to the end, you will see drivers go below that white line. I guarantee you.
Licking away laps. Scioli and Weishart, they've been the dominant forces so far. Perhaps no surprise there, but Hearn, I mentioned earlier, a bit of a wild card. Both from a driving perspective and from a points perspective on the outside looking in right now. But a finish like this would put him in contention.
Doing well right now. As the way it runs, the playoff drivers really haven't moved in a while. Bourne has a 5-point gap as it runs over Travis Beckner. Hearn's still 7 back, even with a third place run so far. So that's what happens when you have all these drivers on the cut line and they all come to the front. You could have a great day and you might not net anything. Even Weishart right now, he's second. He's only 9 to the good.
Out of turn 2, coming to halfway this time through. And now, everyone's been single file for about 5 to 10 laps now, Connor. When does the frustration start to lead you to start sending dives? And can you send a dive? It seems like they're even having trouble pulling up alongside each other in the state right now.
We already saw one incident where a driver on the bottom just loses it. I don't think you can make a dive once the tires wear. It's just looking like the 1 and 2 just looks impossible. And with how single file and how somewhat packed up it still is, if you go to the bottom, for Weishart, for example, he goes to the bottom, tries to make that move, has to wash up. He could wreck, but the best case scenario is that he'd still lose 3-4 positions. So it's not even worth risking at this point trying to make a move like that. Maybe try the third lane, maybe try the top, but that doesn't look to be there so far either.
Off into turn 1. Bezekas Motorsports trucks 3rd and 4th. BWR trucks out front. And Brad Slaughter Jr., again, silently sitting back here in 6th place. This would be a nice solid points night, but does he have position to maybe try some strategy here if we get some green flag stops in the next 15 to 20 laps?
Undercutting's tough here. I don't really want to be on the on a shorter end of a stick with tires. I don't want to be on a defensive at the end of a race like this. I really want to have fresher tires. So you could short pit, but if you do it by too many laps, you might be on an island because that draft is so effective. So I don't know how much strategy we're really going to see here with how close everyone is. The top, trying to see, the top 17 is still separated by 4 seconds. So you're going to come out with someone most likely regardless.
Looks like a freight train right now. But we know if we get restarts late in the going, it will really shake things up. And how much will strategy affect this? Here's Travis Beckner having a look at the 8. First attempted to pass we've seen in a bit here in the top 10. So how is it going to work on the bottom?
We'll have to wait and see. He doesn't have too much in front of him, so that'll help a little bit. Not too much dirty air on the nose since we're not packed up. And you can see he's trying to utilize that side draft as much as possible. This is a move you try to make into 3 and hope you clear him before turn 1. You also might just try to force him higher up the track like he did just there. That will not give, the 8 will not be happy about that because it's kind of egregious to try to put someone off their line, but it's kind of what you have to do with how bumpy that bottom is. It's going to be tough to not do that for Beckner. This is the problem with trying to make this pass. Look at the top 4, top 5 scooting away now.
Yeah, he's holding station on the bottom, though. I mean, it's not huge progress, but he's still down there. And if he just lunges in there, I don't even know if last time was intentional. It sounds like they just looked like they kind of miscommunicated their turn-in points. But now he goes to the bottom, and he's going to throttle up. But now what do? The 8 has to lift, and the 28's going to take advantage of it and drop right in front of the 8 of Brad Slaughter Jr.
It's very aggressive by Beckner, and you know, usually logic dictates if you're on the bottom of Zona Vegas, you got to go to the white line, but I do understand where Beckner's coming from. That bottom line, the bumps are too bad, so he's trying to get that middle line away from the 8, and he just had the nose over Slaughter to the point where I guess maybe he had the right to push him up the track a little bit. I hate to bring the F1 my corner stuff in, but it's kind of what it was there.
He did clear him off the corner, and he just moved up in front of him, and I don't think the 8 had to lift, but it was tight, right? It was one of those moments where you just kind of suck in your breath for a second and you hope that you don't touch. But he did complete the pass, and he is starting to put some distance on the 8. So I think he was a little quicker, but we're seeing the frustration and how aggressive you have to be to complete your pass. If he doesn't move up there, Connor, the 8 just drives right back around him on the outside. If the 28 lifts, the 8 just can stay in throttle and just zoom around with that outside lane momentum. So you have to be aggressive with it in order to move forward.
A big move as well because of that's another cutoff guy he's battling. Just trying to run down as it stands. The Wise Heart's 8 to the good. Bourne's now 4 to the good. Slaughter's only 3 to the good over Beckner because of that. So it might come down. He has to beat that 8 on points depending on how it plays out. So that is a pass he had to make, and it's a pass he had to get aggressive with. And it was he did just that, and he did a great job doing it. And now the challenge is trying to get to that 16 truck.
Down the backstretch, the 77 of Jacob Bell and the 49 of Danny Ware. This is for 8th place. Both these drivers not in the playoffs.
They're going to battle hard like they are. Good run for 77 so far tonight. Same for Danny Ware. He's having a solid run. He's gone up 4 positions. Not too many big movers from back to front.
So
Tom Bourne is up 9 spots.
50 laps to go this time through. And we've been on track for 36 laps. Do you just split this down the middle and hit pit lane, Connor? Or do you try to wait for a yellow? What's your move here? Ooh, the 4 slides.
If you're him, you might have to pit maybe a little early, but I think you are going to see majority split this up. Probably in the next 10-15 laps you'll see drivers come in, but it's almost going to be like a super speedway where you might want to pit with 2 or 3 others, but you do not want to be pitting with the entire pack because that could cause issues, especially with how tight of a pit entrance that Las Vegas can be.
Four and the 24 working nicely together, but even then they're still not able to run the 29 and 7 back down. They're losing ground, and the 16 is creeping into the mixture again. And Bourne, I said earlier that you might have to win races and might have to be 2nd or 3rd each week to really put yourself in contention, but he might just average his way into that final 4 with runs like this.
he's doing a good job of the cut line as it runs, so if he can outrun the people he's racing, it could happen, but I'm starting to think that Cameron Hearn's paying the price for his aggressiveness early on. I think Curhan's faster, and he's choosing to push him because he does not want the 29 to get away. 7 is already kind of getting away. But I think Curhan's going to have to make a decision. Does he want to keep trying to push the 4 in a losing battle, or is he just going to is he just going to have to try to push and go?
And when do you...
Oh, Beckner hit the wall out of 2. I don't think it was hard, but lost a lot of ground.
Simrat Market replay, let's have a look. Just kind of lost the nose and just washed up the track. And yeah, he did get the wall. It was just kind of a glancing blow, but now it's slowing him down a little bit here. That loss of momentum paid away all the way through to the front straight.
And it gets Brad Slaughter back to him. We'll see if the 8 can have some speed now. Maybe try to bring it back to him, as starting to see that 7 kind of flex his muscles on the long run like he's done all season long. A 10th faster per lap the last 2 times around. It's up to just over 0.8 of a second now. That lead is really the first time all night we've seen anyone break away.
Ricky Harden in pit lane for his final time of the night, in theory, unless we get a late yellow that could mix things back up. The expectation would be any green flag stop from here on out is your final one.
Yeah, for sure. And very early to do that as well, but he was not running near the front. Plus, he did have damage from the previous crash. In fact, he was barely in the lead draft in 17th, so might as well try something to get some track position. It looks like Jacob Bell's pitting, so this should start the flurry of drivers in. Mason Kane as well. Yeah,
and it's basically because we are basically halfway from the restart to the end of the race, about 45 each. 42 laps in now, 45 to go. Scioli's lead is extended now to 1 full second. And tell you what, that 28, despite hitting that wall a minute ago, took a swipe there at Tom Bourne.
Yeah, he's still got speed, so wall hit didn't hurt him like it did at Chicagoland with JT Poole, so good on him. And he'll pit, Slaughter will pit with him, and a Sogak can't speed, especially in that situation they're in.
Wineland was really fast in, but he might have gotten it slowed down.
Greg Michelin as well.
David Weishart is slowing down. He was 0.3 off Scioli last time by. Is there some gamesmanship here, Connor? Maybe holding up the 4?
Can't tell if he's holding him up on purpose or he's just that slow. He was 0.3 slower than the 7. He's coming to pit lane, and so is Scioli. I don't think that was gamesmanship. I think Weishart drove him off. Look at Tom Bourne. Look out.
Oh, did he get? Oh, that's almost definitely too fast, Connor.
Stafford, Munsell. Yeah, I'd be shocked if he got away with that. That was a bit hot.
Let's see what happens for Tom Bourne. This could be critical for him. It might take him out of the playoffs, but with the misfortune for the 42 and 10, as Alan Elwood has been officially retired for 21 laps, that might just be a saving grace. Right side tires on, left side tires on. And
no, he won't launch.
No, that's it.
That's such a shame. It's such a big mistake to make in that spot. Gadley's off, Weishart's away. Tom Bourne will be in a probably must-win spot himself unless a stroke of luck happens, because that is a huge error. As more drivers in this time, Curhan, Hearn, Danny Ware as well as Cameron Hearn. Trying to see who else even stayed out. I think that might be everyone.
Yeah, I think everyone's in pit lane, so this is going to cycle things back to James Scioli, likely. Curhan just leaving the box.
Garrett Grant did just pit, but he was far behind.
So there is the 42 on the 4 on the bottom, the 7 around the outside. So Scioli will take the lead. He's got Travis Beckner right behind him, who's only 1 lap older on the tires. So Beckner's strategy's worked out pretty nicely here.
Yeah, really solid. And we know how it takes a while for the tires to make a difference. Scioli only started pulling away 5 laps ago, so this could work out very well for the 28 if things hold up as they are. No one else is really in their draft range right now. Jacob Bell is cycling out to be 3rd, and he is over a second behind. So this is great for the 28 the way it could stand so far right now.
40 laps to go next time by. And everyone in this picture has cycled through. So this is your running order as it stands on the left-hand side of the screen. Now Weishart fell back a little ways here. He's on a mission and flying forward, but he's got about 2.5 seconds up to Scioli. And Cameron Hearn and the 24, Michael Curhan, are well behind. So Scioli's got opportunity to drive away, but he has a pesky fly in the form of Travis Beckner buzzing around his ear.
Yeah, that's I would say that's one way to put it. It's definitely going to be tough to do anything at this point in the run, so you almost have to just kind of sit in line, try to save tire for the very end, because it's still valuable to save those tires. We saw what the 7 could do, so got to be aware of that.
Into turns 1 and 2. There's your front 2. Jacob Bell runs 3rd, Anna Sogak, then David Weishart. David was 0.3 faster than the race leader last time by, despite being on the same set of tires as far as stint length goes.
And so far, what Tom Bourne's penalty and just the short pit of Beckner has done, it's kind of flipped things. Bourne's now 10 behind the cut line. Beckner's 13 to the good, so that's how quickly things can change. Slaughter's, the cut line's expanded. Slaughter's the first one in. He's 9 above Cameron Hearn as it runs, but so many different strategies, different tires, so nowhere near over.
Tell you what, David Weishart, if he can dispatch the 77 and the 88 quickly, I know that we're going to see some tire fall off here, but Weishart's quick, and if he can stay quick for a while the 28 launches an assault on Scioli, we might have another battle for the lead between teammates here, but very much not teammates, these two, the 28 and the 7.
Now they'll battle pretty hard. Can't forget what happened last week. Remember the big slam into a corner?
Ooh,
Scioli to the bumper of Beckner. You think he might remember that this week.
Side by side for the top spot. Beckner leads just. And that will click off a bonus point for the 28.
It's a big one at this point in the race, especially to do it. So very key for him as he's one of those drivers on the cut line, so got to be aware of that.
And he led it not by very much, but doesn't matter.
No.
Ooh, there's going to be some contact into 3.
Oh boy. And this is not what Scioli wants. He does not want to see David Weishart closing in, but he has no choice but to run side by side. This is exactly what the 29 wants, and it's also what the guys on even fresher tires like Cameron Hearn and Brad Slaughter Jr. would want.
Game on up front. Beckner, he's going to try to clear the 7. He threw it in there down into 1 and 2. He's going to slide across the nose. Scioli's going to drop in behind him. Now takes a look to the inside.
Could get ugly. They're blocking back and forth, getting close. Beckner's going to completely pinch him to the bottom. Saw it go bad last week at Phoenix, trying to stay on the right rear of the 7. Ooh. He's able to do it, pull him back, but that 29 is just barreling down on them now.
This is good stuff here. We approach 30 laps to go, still side by side for the lead, and Weishart's running them both down.
This is looking so good for the 29, and so frustrating for Scioli. I'm sure it's hard for him to keep his emotions in check, but can't throw away that cushion now. You know you have fresher tires in the 28. If you could just stick out, weather the storm, you'll be able to stay ahead of the 28, but just not happening. But Beckner not really pulling him back here.
Still has the outside momentum, but if the 7 can roll the bottom nicely and re-clear him, that might be it. But Beckner still throttles up on the outside. Tell you what, Scioli's doing a good job playing defense here. On the bottom, the non-preferred lane. And Weishart is just loving this right now.
Oh, they might hit here. Yep, there they go! Oh my goodness!
Wow. Crash.
We come back down the track. Ricky Harden has nowhere to go.
Caution.
Oh, and Brad Slaughter Jr. got some.
And huge incident involving the leaders, James Scioli, who had a 38-point advantage on the cut line. We'll see it go out like a light.
But Beckner did not have that cushion, and now he is even at the same amount of damage, but this was predictable. I think we both saw this coming.
Yeah, just turned down, didn't leave enough room, and just hard right reared him into the outside wall. And Harden, again, as you mentioned, had nowhere to go. And
Danny Ware slapped Slaughter a bit.
Yeah,
he might be okay.
I don't know that Beckner did that on purpose. He just miscalculated very badly.
no intention. He wasn't trying to wreck the 7, but he was definitely trying to race him hard. Definitely remembering last week at Phoenix, not giving him an inch, but he probably had to give him one more there to avoid that huge hit. You won't see the 7. You won't see Skyly destroyed like that every week. That might be the first big wreck on a non-super speedway of his. Obviously not of his doing. You could see, look at the left sides. He was pretty much on the white line. Beckner just did not give enough room.
Wow, that was a big one for sure. And as far as Weishart, here's what he saw out the windshield. Didn't even see his emotion change on the camera to my left when it was all happening. He just drove right by. Here's what happened from his perspective.
You could see Beckner turn down,
yeah,
maybe a little neck code, but
well, that's the thing, right? Is like it's so tough because the margins are so narrow, and in a perfect world, it's just, you see that 7, just the slightest bit, but he's got to have a little bit more room than that, right? He drifted off the white line an inch or two, and maybe that was what led to the contact, but he didn't have a lot of space to work with. But I'm sure they'll discuss it. It's certainly going to hurt the 28 a whole lot more than it hurt the 7 with that buffer that we mentioned, but that buffer is going to be erased by a lot.
Yeah, and not to take away anything from that, but surprising to me, we have seen some strategy under yellow. Michael Curhan and Cameron Hearn have taken 2 tires.
Oh, 30 laps to go. We weren't that deep in on, I don't know.
They had pit, I believe they had about, Cameron Hearn had about 8 laps on his tires, and Curhan pit the same time, so they really only had like 8 laps on their tires. So I get it, track position matters so much, why not take a flyer? It is going to be risky for Hearn in the situation he's in, but he just saw one of the drivers he was battling on the cut line, get taken out, so that's huge. Also to note, that was a big break for Tom Bourne. He got the lucky dog out of that, so he has new life.
Yeah, that's going to help a lot. But although not the kind of help that 28 needed to see, because while his incident pushes him backwards, it will launch the 16, who he would be contending for a spot into that Final 4, up into a position to improve. So under 30 laps to go now. We're going to restart with probably about 29 or 28 laps to go, 28 most likely. Does this create the chaos and multiple yellows that we were expecting to happen maybe at the beginning of this race, Connor, with the aggression level heating up here and not a whole lot of playoff contenders up front, so easy pickings for some drivers that want to throw it down and try to steal one?
I was about to note the same thing. Look at the top 10, look at the playoffs, look at the colors. There's really no color anymore, only 3 drivers in the top 10, and you could see a lot more of the color outside the top 15 and probably out of this race. That is how quick of a difference it makes, and I think you're right. I think we're going to see the intensity pick up even more because of that. It could get very wild.
Well, while we are waiting to get back green, we've got some housekeeping items to take care of. Race fans, be sure to visit simwrapmarket.com for custom iRacing paint scheme templates that are simple to use and help you stay more focused on the racetrack. And race fans, be sure to check out rickshotsauce.com for some of the best hot sauces made locally in South Florida. Try the Loxahatchee Classic, Golden Garlic, Palm Beach Pineapple, or South Beach Heat. Follow the Rick's Hot Sauce Rookie of the Year battle in the Area Cup Series and see which driver will take home the $100 prize as the highest finishing rookie in the point standings. Couple wave arounds here. Travis Beckner is rolling, although that truck looking decidedly secondhand.
He'll definitely not probably get through the field at all. So he'll probably settle for maybe 16th or 17th, tail end of what is now the lead lap. Ricky Harden went a lap down. Garrett Grant is still rolling, so maybe second life for him as well, even though he's still destroyed. Could still get some life here.
All right, predictions. So I predicted that the 29 of Weishart was going to take this. I think you picked the 28.
I did.
All right, so I'll give you another shot to switch around your pick.
It's just tough to not. Who'd you pick again?
I picked the 29.
Yeah, that's a hard pick to beat, but if anyone's going to beat him, I think it's probably going to be Cameron Hearn. Actually, no, I'll scratch that. I think if it's going to be anyone, it'll be Michael Curhan, because he's got speed, but those 2 tires are going to be tough.
If I was you, I probably would have picked the 4. He's been aggressive, he's been on it, but is it too much, too late? Will the tempers flare here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway? Lap 93 of 120, back underway with about 15 minutes of racing to go. 5 drivers out. and 20 remain of the 25 starters. Good launch by the 24 and the 4. Weishart pulls even with the Hearn machine, and now Hearn will slot back in behind him.
He goes Weishart inside of Curhan for the lead, just like that. Didn't take long, so both the drivers on 2 tires probably going to be, at least one of them's going to be in dirty air immediately. Curhan's going to fight this as hard as he can, but that 29 too fast, and he got a push from Cameron Hearn.
Well, behind him, I think the other guys might have another shot here. If they go a couple laps and then get a crash and restart, they could try some other strategy. The 4 down to the inside of the 29. He threw it down there, tried to steal it, and Weishart denied it.
Yeah, he tried to do a double crossover. He switched high, switched back
behind him, crash. Munsell in the wall, and a Sogak is in it. Brad Slaughter Jr., a playoff competitor, is in it as well.
No yellow yet. Still no caution through all this. They got trucks everywhere. Slaughter's turned around, and there's still no caution. There's not going to be a caution.
We will stay green.
And look at what this has done. Now Weishart, Jacob Bell is second through all this. Where did he come from? The lead pack is now restricted to 6 trucks.
And I think Weishart would like to keep it that way. Don't have a yellow, don't re-rack it, restack it, and give those guys another shot at going. The 8 of Slaughter Jr. is back rolling in 17th place.
He's got a lot of damage from that. More than I thought he would have. That is catastrophic.
We've said that word a lot tonight for a lot of playoff competitors.
At least the third.
Bell, Ware, they've kind of come up the order together tonight. They're both going to go to the outside of the 29. And now Weishart is fending off a very different group of drivers.
Yeah, these are literally drivers we have not seen all night. So this is going to change everything, really, the way that Weishart's going to play this. But he's loose, though.
A big bubble.
I think Danny Ware hit him. Actually, no, he did not hit him, I don't think. But that arrow loose is such a big issue as Cameron Hearn gets back by him.
Oh, Hearn's going to get turned.
Oh, no.
Weishart escapes to the high lane. 3 wide for second as the 4 slides for control. Bell tries to drive away from all of it. Here comes Eric Wineland from out of nowhere.
Wineland, does he look 3 wide? No, he doesn't. He shoved the 4 into a corner. I am shocked that they've gotten away with this without a caution. Well, that 4 is going to wiggle.
Oh, boy. For how much longer?
Oh, man. What can you say about this race? What has unfolded? We're still not the 20 to go, and now Jacob Bell leads through all this.
We knew things were going to get spicy here at the end of this one, but not like this. A crash without a yellow has spread the field out, and we have new players up here and some that have absolutely nothing to lose. Jacob Bell leads the way, and that would be an upset for sure.
And look who's in 8th. He avoided all that. Tom Bourne did, and he's not in the pack. He likely will compete for the win, but what a huge turn of events for him. He threw it away, and he's gotten it right back.
Danny Ware trying to power on the outside. Michael Curhan still just a second back. While the 4 and the 24 are down, they're not out. But David Weishart has run the 77 back down as we hit lap 100. Ooh, the Bell's going to chase him to the outside wall.
Oh, man. Going to be tough to get away with that, I think. Got to be respectful of your playoff drivers. Here comes the crossover. Weishart has the grip to do it. Not much Bell can do to defend this except just pinch like Beckner did, but make sure to give him enough room here. And where does Weiland go through all this?
Looks like he's going to try to follow the 77 through and maybe into second place past him, but he'll have to tuck in for now. 20 laps to go here from Las Vegas. The ticker counts down, and I'll tell you what, the drivers are counting down as well. This is going to be the longest 20 laps that David Weishart has had all season long.
Bell goes back to the bottom. What this has done, it's put the cut line, believe it or not, is still close. You got Cameron Hearn up by 2 as it runs, and Slaughter and Beckner are both behind by 2. Beckner benefited from that too. He's destroyed, but he's back to 13th through all that, so great job avoiding. Just wild how quickly points can swing.
19 laps to go, and now the battle is on. It's how many we got in here? 6 trucks battling for the top spot. Any one of them could win with how wild it's been. And these are drivers that haven't really raced around each other a lot tonight, so I think everyone's not really predictable in comparison to each other.
And how much can Cameron Hearn really do from fourth? Remember, he's on 2 tires, so the grip is lacking. And if someone gets on his bumper like Danny Ware is here, it really throws him for a spin nearly, is really wiggling the rear end with Ware pushing as these two go side by side. Wineland wanted 3.
Going to give Weishart maybe a bit of a shove. The 4 of Cameron Hearn would love to follow them both through past the 77. 17 laps to go next time by, and they're side by each. Down the back straightaway again.
You can tell what Wineland's decision's been. He'll go to the bottom to get through the corners well, but he is pushing Weishart, trying to get into second through that top lane. Also probably trying to protect from the 4 of Hearn a little bit. But I think if he really could get a run, he would want 3 wide top, but it just won't happen. Weishart will not let that happen.
Cameron Hearn chases Wineland up the track. Had to bail out of the throttle and leaves him vulnerable to not only his teammate, but to the 49. As Weishart tastes clean air for a moment on the outside lane. He's going to pinch the 77 down, but Bell stays in the throttle.
Bell's doing a great job, but will those tires wear out eventually, and will we see that bottom line get too bumpy for him? It's, I would assume, only a matter of time, but the lights are on now. Maybe it's changed, but he's going to have to give it his all. He has no choice but to go full throttle down there now. He has no help, and he's going to go backwards if he can't go anywhere.
Into turn 3, coming to 15 laps to go. Bell drives in hard into 3, and he is still hanging tough on that inside lane.
Doing a great job, even leading a few laps here and there, but Weishart's able to pinch him down and give him nothing to it. Wineland keeps looking, pushing the 29 into a corner, and Cameron Hearn's trying to make sure, trying to get some third lane going.
Wow, Bell committed. He really committed to 1 and 2. That might have been the last lunge that he's got. Wasted a lot of right front tire heat on that move there.
Yeah, sure did, but under 15 to go, you might as well try something. You got to see what works and what doesn't, because you're kind of stuck here no matter what. Wineland keeps getting runs. Hearn does as well, but just nowhere to go. No 3 wide option. 3 wide to the bottom won't work, so no reason in trying it.
It has just been a dead heat. Nobody is able to get a significant lasting advantage. Chevy, Ford, the top 3. And Wineland is just waiting. All he wants to figure out is which line is going to prevail here. Because he's going to have to use that knowledge to make a pass for second or maybe go for the lead. 13 to go. And lap traffic on the horizon.
I see that's Anna Sogak, the 88, and also Brad Slaughter Jr. up there as well. As we'll see what they want to do.
Ooh, big push. 77 was tight in 1 and 2. Losing his grip on that lead. Side draft pulls him back in.
And dives into 3 to get back alongside, but you can tell the grip's going away. It might be a losing battle starting to unfold here. Especially it's just 1 and 2. He can maintain in 3 and 4 just fine still, but turns 1 and 2, that trouble spot is becoming an issue now.
Yeah, so with 12 laps to go, he's going to sense that he's running out of opportunity, and right here, the push again in 1 and 2, it's not going to be recoverable if he loses this. And clear is the 29. Here comes Wineland to fill the outside lane. That's the lane that prevailed. That's the lane that he's going to take. The 77 does not have the grip to compete on the bottom. And Wineland, just like that, is going to go through to second.
Now we get to see what Wineland can do. Does he want to go to the bottom, or is he going to try to force his way to the top of the 29? Maybe try another factor. Will it be contact? He's got to try something, I assume, here. But you also need to race your playoff drivers respectful.
Oh, he committed to the outside, maybe a little too high here. Left him vulnerable, but the 77 not able to quite get to the quarter panel off of turn 2.
Yeah, you have to think that Hearn and Curhan are kicking themselves for taking 2 tires here. They just have nothing to run with here. But
yeah, I would have liked to have raced him on racecraft alone and not pull that strategy card at a stage where they didn't have to. They kind of forced their own hand. 10 to go.
On the plus side, if you don't take 2 tires there, they might have been in that crash, so who knows. You can see things starting to get that spread out feel. The top 6 really starting to get, not too spread out, but just enough where there's no side-by-side in the cards right now. don't look now, but Tom Bourne, he probably won't get to the lead at all, but he has gained the last few laps on those top 6.
Yeah, 7th place now, and regardless, it's going to be a good points night for him in comparison to Elwood, Brad Slaughter Jr., and Garrett Grant and Travis Beckner. He's ahead of all but 2 of the other playoff competitors.
And that buffer for Scioli, we thought it'd come down. Because of that chaos, it really won't. He's still 31 to the good. He's only lost 7 points, so that buffer will continue. But definitely her feelings will continue in the next 2 weeks as well.
A bit of a pack up on the back straightaway here as some lap traffic. Anna Sogak is dispatched. And David Weishart has really been one of the dominant drivers of this race. He led 37 laps. Now, James Scioli led 46. So 37 and 8 is 45. So Weishart isn't going to pick up that laps led point, but it's not going to matter if he holds on for 7 more laps, Connor. That's locked into the final 4.
And it'll be the 2nd time in a row he's done it week 1 of the round, which is a huge boost. Maybe not as huge for the 3 round they do in real life, but having that edge, you don't even really have to worry about IRP. You can just focus on trying to practice for Homestead, getting prepared for that. That is a huge advantage.
Yeah, Gateway next week is where we're
Gateway,
headed.
excuse me.
Homestead for the season finale. And we've seen how rough and tumble Gateway can get, so that's definitely one I'd like to cross off the worry about list.
And that's at least a good track for Beckner. I believe he was the guy who won there last season, possibly. So currently 2 below the cut line Beckner is, but going to a track he's good at, he'll be thankful for that after a disastrous ending to this one.
Yeah, going to need to repeat that performance. I mean, maybe not need to, but it would certainly help. 5 laps to go for David Weishart. Eric Wineland, Jacob Bell, Cameron Hearn, Danny Ware, and Michael Curhan, the remainder of the drivers in the top group. And then behind that, it's 6 seconds back to Bronson Stafford, who's kind of on his own. Same with Bobby Tinch and Justin Munsell. You have to go all the way back to 13th place Travis Beckner to kind of pick up what it could even be considered a pack, but it's just so fragmented because of that crash that we saw after the restart.
It's still shocking it wasn't a yellow, but it has definitely caused this, that we had the entire 25 truck field separated by maybe 4 seconds at its peak, and now you barely even have 9 trucks separated by 10 seconds. That's how quickly it can change when you get packed racing like that. As come this time by, we've down the back straightaway, 3.5 laps to go as Slaughter starts to just ride behind the 29, maybe as a buffer.
Three laps to go this time. And Weishart has just been in contention. The emotions were running high in the beginning of the race when he was racing with Cameron Hearn. And luckily they never came to a head in the way that they did with the 7 and 28. Not that those guys were all that unhappy with each other before the accident, but I guess getting to focus on that Homestead round, especially at a track that kind of races like this one in many ways, Connor, with that outside line preference. I think there's a lot to be said about Weishart's chances to win this championship.
Definitely a big advantage. There's no understating that, how big it is for Weishart. To be able to do it twice in the playoffs, it almost borderline makes him another favorite alongside the 7 of Scioli. And we really haven't seen anyone all season be able to really match him in that sense. So it is a very big momentum boost, not just to have an extra week to prepare, but just big momentum and big confidence from the driver of the 29.
White flag waves for David Weishart, 1 lap to go. And as far as favorites for the final 4 competitors here in the Area Truck Series, yeah, you had to circle the 7. And now you're going to have to circle the 29, because in a half a lap, he will lock his way in as one of the 4 competitors that will go to Homestead and compete in a title. It's rough and tumble. It is an absolute brawl here in the Truck Series to make it through the 2 selection rounds, to make it to the Championship 4. But David Weishart does it tonight with a win at Las Vegas. Weishart wins in Sin City. Wineland, Bell, Hearn, Ware, the rest of your top 5.
And the bump to the back of the 4 from Brad Slaughter. And didn't see where they came to a head, but That'll continue, but a great drive from Weishart. He looked to be in trouble after losing Scioli at the beginning of the green flag stops, but circumstances played into his favor big time tonight.
Yeah, when that drama behind them happened, that helped a lot. But what helped even more was the decision by Cameron Hearn and Michael Curran to take 2 tires. I think that was the critical flaw in their strategy, Connor. And had they had the tires to compete, they might have been able to out-racecraft them, but there was no one else up there that was up to the task.
No doubt about that. He definitely deserves to do burnouts. Can't deny that either.
45 laps led, so 1 shy of the most. That belongs to the 7, James Scioli, and that bonus point might prove to be critical next week with a big portion of his safety net evaporating tonight with that crash involving the 28 of Travis Beckner.
Yeah, it's can't understate how huge this is. I know we've just been kind of hammering it home, but he might be the favorite after that, especially after what we saw the last 2 weeks. That is, he doesn't really have any enemies, and some drivers at the top of the pylon have some enemies to deal with, and he might not have any to deal with, and that's also a huge advantage.
Well, here's a look at your race results. Weishart, Wineland, Bell, your top 3. Then Cameron Hearn, Danny Ware, Curran, Bourne, Senesac, Stafford, and Tinch. Top 10's pretty mixed just because of that chaotic restart. But Cameron Hearn below the cut line coming in, Connor. That's going to be a good points night for him regardless.
He's 1 to the good from my count. My count's unofficial, but I believe I got it right. 1 to the good over Brad Slaughter Jr., who is the big loser in that pile up down the back straightaway. Did not bring out a caution. Also, shout out to a few non-playoff drivers. Another top 10 for Bronson Stafford and Bobby Tinch, 10th out of all that.
Yeah, nice run for Bobby Tinch. Here's a look at 11 through 20. James Scioli down there in 20th place with that big crash in turn 4. Travis Beckner recovered pretty nicely, also involved in that collision. So did Brad Slaughter Jr., doing everything he could with the truck that he had at the end. Garrett Grant, though, disappointing night, and Alan Elwood. That's going to be a tough one heading into next week.
Yeah, it's one of the drivers who's been so good, consistent all season, but just one race like that could make all the difference in your playoffs hopes. And he joins Garrett Grant in almost definite must-win situations. But at the very least, the chaos at the very end might have helped a tiny bit.
Well, Jacob Bell was part of the chaos at the very end. Jacob finishes 3rd tonight in the number 77, 2/10 back from Eric Wineland. What a wild last run to the end after that yellow, the crash behind. It just mixed everything up, and you were up there slicing and dicing, leading the race, but just couldn't quite hang on for the win. Take us through your night and that run forward at the end for a top 5 result.
Yeah, kind of sit and duck there when, the big wreck happened or whatever around the 6th, 7th, 8th spot. I knew it kind of split the field up, and then at that point I had a half-second lead, and I knew it was just kind of a matter of time until they just kind of came by and blew my doors off. So was just riding, trying to race David clean because I know he's in the playoffs. So it was just really riding on the bottom there, and I was just trying to mind my business. Last 4 weeks, for whatever reason, and the trucks have been really, really good. Haven't been able to nail qualifying. We've qualified 17th, 19th, 20th, whatever. But then kind of drive back up inside the top 10 and kind of ride there. And it's been a good little stretch, so I'm happy with that. Looking forward to, the last 2 weeks here.
Yeah, a good solid run for you, Jacob, tonight. Looked like after the tires kind of burned off on the initial run, it got pretty hard to make passes, but you were able to hold the bottom on that run against David Weishart for quite some time. So how different did you have to drive the bottom than the top to maintain that run alongside a driver up on your outside?
Yeah, I think the top there was definitely preferred. I knew he kind of had me on the bottom, just kind of making me sit and burn my stuff up because I had no other option. But the bottom, just using a little bit more brake to get it to turn. But I really, really felt comfortable on the top line. I had a really good line through 1 and 2 that was working for me. Found that about halfway through the race, and that's kind of what got me up inside the top 5. A little fuel strategy got us to 3rd, and then the top 2 wrecked, and I was like, whoa, it's been years since I've seen 1st and 2nd take each other out in this league. I feel like this league is so impressive with the talent we have, and obviously, like me and David, you see that kind of racing for 1st and 2nd pretty much all the time, especially here. So seeing that was definitely an eye-opener, and I told Justin Anasogok in the 88, I said, we're in a really good spot here for this last run. And then you had guys take 2 tires, and it let that plan go up in smoke. So who knows what could have been if we just had better track position there at the end. But definitely got everything I could possibly want in those last 20 laps. and just couldn't capitalize. So it is what it is. We move on.
Jacob Bell, third place tonight in the number 77. Jacob, thanks for chatting.
Appreciate it. Thank you guys as always. Thank you to Florida State Builders, Rick's Hot Sauce, Wax Electric, everybody that helps out in this league, the admin team. They've done a great job all year, so extra kudos to them and kudos to the broadcast team as well.
Thanks, Jacob. We'll see you next time.
Thanks.
And moving on now to second place, Eric Wineland gets the job done. Position number 2 from a starting position of 16th place. It got frantic there at the end, Eric, but you were able to sneak on through for a second place. And I'm sure you're probably pretty happy with that, although I'm sure you would also been happier with one spot better.
Absolutely, Kyle. I mean, the 21 machine was stupid fast tonight. Just couldn't find the happy medium between saving enough tire but pushing it hard enough. And I just ended up mired back in traffic so much, not to mention my poor qualifying effort. But the seas parted. We did a little Moses right there to get ourselves toward the front at the end. And I'll absolutely take a second place after the season I've had. It's a good run. Hopefully it builds a little bit of momentum. Las Vegas, not a favorite track of mine, but when you get a good finish, it's always a good time.
Yeah, certainly seemed like a good result there. And it seemed like a lot of fun as well to race like that. I know passing was hard, Eric, but were you still able to move around a little bit? We did see drivers hold station on the bottom, but it did seem like it was pretty single line in terms of finding single lap pace.
Yeah, I mean, you saw, I'm sure you guys documented it throughout the early part of the restarts we had, that 2 wide was pretty common for the first like 10, 15 laps. Once it kind of settled out, man, it was so hard to pass. You couldn't really build a run. I had a hard time getting by Ricky Harden at the tail end of the pack just before green flag stops till he made a mistake. And then finally in the last like 3 laps before I pitted, it felt like it came alive on the guys I was racing around. But by that time, it was too late. It was time to pit. So I don't know if you guys caught it, though. That pit road entry I had was probably the best pit road entry I've ever had on the service. I gained like 3 or 4 seconds on Justin Anisogak up the road, and that put me in the position there for the restart then, which the seas parted and we made our way forward. So, and I want to give a huge shout out to you guys here at SimTV for you guys, one, let me help out on Monday nights, and of course, being able to put this on for the area guys. It's awesome to have you guys. The area team, all the admins, Jacob Bell, who helps run the show. I can't thank them enough for letting me work with them on this thing as well. Of course, thank you to Go Slow, my teammates. Unfortunately, JT and Dylan couldn't make it tonight, but we still carried the banner nice and high for a P2 finish. And I got to thank Tyler Nichols, TK, for being on the spotter stand tonight as well, helping me out as well. So, Kyle, I'm looking forward to Gateway next week. Not a favorite track either, but hey, this round is pretty good. Even though we aren't in the playoffs, maybe we can make it even better.
Eric Wineland, second place in the 21 Ford. Eric, thanks. And moving on now to David Weishart and his 3rd win of the season. And David, I picked you to win this race, and I'm so glad you did, because on Michael Curran's points list, as far as broadcaster picks, I'm going to continue to grow my lead, and you are going to move on to the championship 4. Congratulations. It was dramatic out there tonight. Some big wrecks out there involving some playoff drivers, but all of it cycles to you winning and just shy of leading the most laps as well. So that was a pretty solid night for you. I'm sure you're thrilled.
Oh yeah, I did not want to go to Gateway, having to race into the Final 4. Man, it was white knuckle all race. We were all just seemed like we were driving our guts out, and I don't really know how to describe it. I lost a ton of time on that green flag pit stop. I don't know where that went. I had to drive so hard to get up there, and Travis and James were racing really hard there. I was behind them watching it, and I was like, well, just remember this is for last week. And they say it was netcode, so I'll take their word for it. Just hard racing, I guess. I mean, they're both racing for points, so just one of those races, man. Me and Cameron were kind of sparring back and forth on the radio. He threw a block on me early in the race. I had to throw a huge one on him going into 1, but we're racing for a win to advance to the Final 4. So gotta do what you gotta do. I hate racing that way, but this package, it forces you to be that way. So I don't want to race like that, but that's what you gotta do. But either way, happy to move on.
David Weishart will fight for a championship in 2 weeks' time. Congratulations, David. Enjoy not having to worry about anything next week, but go out there and have some fun at Gateway.
All right, thanks. I just want to say thanks y'all to broadcasting. the admins, Ryan and John up there, and Matt Tools, Bobby Tens for supporting the team this year. So thanks for all of them and the hard work they all do.
Thanks a lot, David. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys.
All right, Connor, final thoughts here from Las Vegas. This was an interesting one. Tempers did get high, but a driver that won that I think was high on my list, obviously. He was my pick to win. But as we head into next week, the championship situation is interesting. Brad Slaughter Jr. and Cameron Hearn separated by 1 position on that cut line. Scioli's lead still exists, though, because of all the chaos behind him, but 2 drivers that are in dire need of a win, Elwood and Garrett Grant, 14 points back and 18 points back, respectively.
Yeah, they'll almost certainly need wins, but they're the only ones who will need wins. Travis Beckner, he had chaos ensue into turn number 3. Tempers favored between him and Scioli 2 weeks in a row, but because of that backstretch chaos, he kind of gets away with it. He should have been further below the cut line, but he is only back 2, so huge boost for him to be going into a race next week where he's a track he's already won at in the Truck Series, I believe, and he's able to do it again. It wouldn't even matter. He wouldn't even need to gain 2 points, but huge for him. Tom Bourne, how about him? Big recovery. He's 8 above the cut line after getting the lucky dog. Huge boost for him as well. It's going to be wild the next 2 weeks. I mean, Gateway's enough, but Homestead Miami is going to be a show, and can't wait to see the other 3 who joined David Weishart there, but that 29 might be the new favorite after the last 3 weeks he's had. He is on a heater.
Well, we're going to see more racing next week from Gateway before our season finale on August 22nd at Homestead. But the Area Florida State Builders Pro Series takes their turn at Las Vegas this Thursday night. We'll see you there. Kyle Heyer, Connor Horn bringing you the Area Truck Series action. Another playoff race down. 2 more to go on SimTV.